Hey, this is Big Lou. And when I'm on the internet, I'm listening to Jack Dapper Blues.
I'm D. Trufar, listening to Jack Dapper Blues.
Hey everybody, this is Adam Gusso.
Hi, I'm Veronica Jackson, America's acoustic folk blues singer. You're listening to Jack Dapper Blues.
Hello, this is Ray Brooks. You're listening to Jack Dapper Blues. Hi, this is Guy Davis.
Hey there, folks. This is Don Fleming, the American songster, slapping the dap with Jack Dapper Blues.
Hey everybody, this is Walter Trout, and you are listening to Jack Dapper Blues.
Hey, this is Shamika Copeland.
Hey, I'm Ben Turner of Piedmont Blues. I'm here with Valerie Turner.
And we are bluesing with Lamont Jack Pearlie, the best radio station for true blues.
Hi, I'm Larry Griffin, and I keep it locked and loaded on Jack Dapper Blues. Yes, yes, yes.
What's happening, blues people? Another episode of Jack Dapper Blues. And before we get into it, just want y'all to know I am keeping consistent with my Super Reds challenge. The information will be in the description. If you need energy or your daily servings of fruits and vegetables, that is the drink for you. Now, on to my special guest, because what we do here is platform blues people and the descendants of blues people and the practitioners of what I like to call African-American or Black traditional music. So today I have my brother from Louisiana, DK Harrell. What's happening, my brother?
Oh, nothing much. Just living here in the snow for a little bit. We're not snowed in, but it's a little bit of snow outside. But we're doing all right. How about yourself?
Yeah, likewise, man. There's some snow up here, and down here, coming from New York City. This is not the worst snow I've seen, but I'm not complaining.
Yeah, that's how it is. I'm not complaining at all because it could be worse. So
that's right.
Yeah.
So now you have an interesting story, bro, because you were literally grandfathered into the blues. So let's just jump into your story, man.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. When I was born April 24th, 98. My father wasn't there to be present because at the time he was working 12-hour shifts. But my grandfather was there. My mother's father was there. And his name was C.H. Jackson. So my mom and my aunt came up with my name, which was DeKaren, and has an apostrophe D in it. So it's D''K, so on. So my grandfather looked at the name and he said, well, since my name is CH, I'm going to nickname him DK. And for a long time, just as a toddler, I wouldn't talk. I wouldn't talk to save anybody. They would try everything. They tried books, they tried TV, talking to me, and it just wouldn't work. I would just grunt. But to make a long story short, my grandfather gave my mother B.B. King's album, Deuces Wild. He said, listen to this CD, while you're on the road, I bet you he'll be quiet the whole time. So we were going to Monroe, Louisiana, which they have a mall out there. And apparently on the way to Monroe, this is the story the way I've always heard it, they kept hearing a little voice in the background singing The Thrill Is Gone. And when they would turn it down, it would stop and turn it back up. It would, continue. And so they finally decided, they said, let's turn it halfway and see what the noise is. So they turned around. It was me in my car seat singing The Thrill Is Gone. So that's how I learned to talk, was through music. So a friend of mine told me that, she said, well, maybe it's, frequencies, because they always say we have this frequency, that calms us down, frequencies that make us do this, frequencies that make us do that. And she said maybe that was just the frequency that you connected with and could respond with the most. So that's the story of how I fell into blues, and that's how I started talking.
Well, it's interesting because what we try to do is raise the point that this is generational as a heritage, as a tradition, as a culture. Very rarely do you hear it mentioned as a family, or better yet, a mechanism for growth of children, right? So that's very, very telling as the power of our traditional expression, right?
Oh yeah, very powerful. To me, I've always just had a thing for music. I guess from just that experience alone, is the pure definition that, you can talk to a baby and they won't understand the word you're saying. But as soon as you turn on some music, they'll start moving. They'll start reacting to it faster than somebody saying, say dad, say mama. It's just something about it. So it is it's powerful. It's a really powerful source. People don't understand it. It's very powerful.
So now, with that being said, were you from the beginning a bluesman? Did you dabble in our other cultural expressions and then return? How was that journey?
Well, with being reared at the time when I was, taller, after I learned to talk through music, my stepfather's mother, Kathy Ann Brooks, would have these family functions. And a cousin of mine, Greg Bridges, would be there, and they would always play what's considered old school music. Sam Cooke, James Brown, just on and on. So every time James Brown would come on, I would really be in my underwear at 5 and 6 years old and a white t-shirt and socks in the middle of the kitchen of this family function doing James Brown.
So you would get the feeling.
Yeah, I would get the feeling, and I felt good. and it was just, and then with that happening, and then also my mom's mother taking us to church at Mount Pisgah. That church is a very historical church in my life and in anybody else's life who's been there, because it's actually been there since slavery. They haven't changed a thing about it. They just, refurbished a lot of the furniture. But the pulpit, just everything is from the 1800s there. And they never had a band. Most churches have a piano player, drummer, etc. We never had it. We had that real old school church of just when it was time for the hymn, somebody would just bust out singing. And that's how I really got into gospel music. And then once we went to other churches for revival, and they had bands, I was like, man, these guys are really cooking, But the singers are not on point, because the band would be, blasting over the singers, or the singers would be trying to strain themselves to be over the band. So it was always nice to hear my grandmother, Vera Jackson, just hum those tunes, and sing those tunes to us from the hymn book, or just from her memory. And it's just, yeah, it brings back a lot of memories for me, because when like I said, people don't understand how powerful music is, but I did dab in the R&B and gospel, and I didn't really start getting into pop so much. If you want to consider this pop, it was more like a 60s pop, like Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr. I listened to what some people call classy blues, or classy, rhythm and blues, or classic pop, because those guys really could. When even though Frank Sinatra was, Caucasian male, he had a black band backing him. He put in, he really opened a lot of doors for Count Basie, Sammy Davis Jr., Louis Armstrong, even B.B. King. He even got B.B. on the Las Vegas Strip. So it's like, when you dab into all these different artists and learn their backgrounds and the history they made along the way, it kind of makes you go, I want to be that important to somebody or a group of people, but the best way to do it is by helping yourself, but also helping others along the way.
Right.
I cannot say I've gotten this far on a, I guess you say popularity basis by myself. Like, no, I have other people to credit for that. And it only goes with family. It goes with friends, other fellow musicians. And, some of these people I don't talk to or break bread with every day, but they have a place in my heart because here I am,
Yeah.
I could be doing something totally worse in the world. But here I am, at home working and picking up my guitar every day and saying, man, I can't wait for this COVID stuff to be over. So,
you ready to take it to the stage?
Yeah, ready to take it to the stage again. I actually had, back in July, we had the first annual blues retreat, which I'm pretty sure you saw with John Tavius, Marquise Knox.
Yes.
It was, I'm not going to say I was, what's what I'm looking for, not satisfied with people that show up, because anybody that shows up, I'm happy that they show up. What I wish is that the pandemic wasn't happening, so we could have had more people, because to me, they had to be one of the most magical things or magical events that I'd ever seen, because here we were, roughly, I think it's 6 of us, that were there, 6 young African-American men saying, hey, we play the blues too. And we can play it just as good as anybody else. I mean, that week in Mississippi at the Foxfire Ranch was just, I mean, we really put on a show so good that we actually sat back. John Tavius, after the first night, he actually came into our cabins and he said, "This is one of the best shows I've ever seen."
Mm.
And he performed too. That's what's funny about it. He performed too. And I feel like, man, if a young cat that was Grammy nominated tell you that was the best show he saw, then you must have some great potential.
Right.
So
right.
I mean, I'm not pulling out the race card, but for African-American people, this is our music. I don't care what anybody says. It came from the home of Africa. So, I don't bring race into it really. If you're white and you play the blues, you're white and you play the blues. But you can't necessarily say that it was whites who created, because it's just not true. It's just not factorial true. It's just not.
Well, it's not true, but it's not true. Let me ask you a question, though, on that note, because you raise a very important topic.
Yeah.
How important? I don't even know how I could word this. Does it feel like currently, the legacies and the children of the blues, which is us, that we have to prove our worth in our own space because it's occupied by someone else? Does it feel like that?
I will be honest with you, yes, it does. Because, this example is not putting him down because we are great friends. A prime example is Kingfish. Kingfish, as of right now, if you, 9 times out of 10 now, if you come across somebody and you say, hey, do you know any blues players? They'll just bring up one name. Oh, I know Kingfish. And that's it. But they won't say, oh, I know John Tavius Willis. I know Marquise Knox. I know this individual. I know that. Solomon, I believe his name is Solomon Hicks. They don't say
Solomon Hicks.
They just say Kingfish. And there's nothing wrong with it. But I feel like if society did its research and gave us a chance and saw that, hey, these guys are a force of nature and they play this genre, just as great as Fish, and just as bad as Fish, these cats are, dynamite. Then I feel like then in the present, we could bring some more spotlight, not only to the blues, but also to our own people. that are our ages younger, because I met many of my peers and I tell them I'm a blues musician and they go, "Oh, so you play Southern Soul?" No, there's a difference. No, I don't play that, because here in the South, Southern Soul is very big and I'm not down in it, but no, that's not what I play. And they're like, "Okay, so what you mean?" And I start naming people. Well, like B.B. King, John Lee Hooker, we listen to Ma Rainey, Robert Johnson, etc. And they're just like, "Yeah, I don't know those people." Or they might say, "Oh, I've heard of B.B. King. My grandmother listened to him." And I say, "Oh, thank God."
Right,
just one. But I feel like with the ones who are coming up now, Fish, Jontavius, Marquise, all of us in this clique that's kind of, the spotlight want to touch us, but it's just not on us yet.
Right.
So I feel like if we do that, we'll be on.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but and you kind of alluded to this in regards to it being society, the system or the business of musical entertainment as a whole. It seems like they can only, and again, Kingfish is nice, so he's supposed to be where he's at. But what I'm saying is, and I believe we're saying the same thing, the business of entertainment, the way society and the system runs, it can only be one black person lifted up at one time. It can never be the collective. Is this what, are we in the same ballpark here?
Yes, honestly, because it's the same way in Hollywood when it comes to actors. You have this one, black comedian that comes out and they are a hit for the next 5 to 10 years. And then it might get quiet a while. And then there's another black comedian comes and they're a hit for 5 or 10 years. I feel like if John Voight, Brad Pitt, Matthew McConaughey can all get nominated for Oscars at the same time, then how come Jontavius Withers, Kingfish, Marquise Knox, and Solomon Hicks all get nominated for a Grammy at the same time? And I tell the guys all the time, when I say guys, the men, the young musicians who was at Foxfire, I tell them all the time, I want us all to be on that Grammy list. I want people to go, where did these guys come from? Who are these guys? It's almost like I said, a force of nature. So yes, I do feel that they do this. Not your turn.
Right.
We'll have him, and then no, I want everybody to have their cake and eat it too, because this is a business. Because if you have, it's the same way with back in the day when Berry Gordy did Motown. It wasn't just the Temptations that was it.
Right.
Everybody was making hits.
Yeah.
The Temps be on, let's say 4-5 weeks on the charts, then boom, Marvin Gaye drops a bomb. Then, Diana Ross and the Supremes drop a bomb. The Four Tops drop a bomb. It's just like, that's what we need today. We need that whole, because right now, 2020 to now has been, to me, the most pro-Black active years I've ever seen. Because with George Floyd passing, or some may, correct me and say murder, however you want to put it. You had countries marching with us. Not just cities. You had countries. And I feel like if countries can do this, if the world can do this, we can definitely do it in the music business. We can definitely do it in the Hollywood business. It doesn't need to just be one. It needs to be all of us, because that's who we are. It's our thing. We got to be tighter than tight. Yes, we know the business is shaded. We know society is shaded. But again, we have to be a force of nature. We have to tell, just like with, racism, highly in the 50s and 60s, a lot of artists were turned down because they were Black, but they still performed.
Right.
They still did what they had to do. So I feel like if we need to get out there, of course, we're going to do what we do. We're going to push ourselves. We're going to put everything on social media. We're going to try to get it out there as much as possible. Hey, man, can you share this for me? Oh, yeah. How about you share this for me? It's an exchange.
Yeah.
We both giving and getting at the same time. And nowadays we just don't have that because we live in a very messed up and selfish society. I have to say it, but it's true.
Right. It's very individualistic. You can only we've collectively adapted that school of thought. Now, I want to jump ship something similar, but something I find a little bit more important. And you mentioned this as well. When you speak to Black folk in your age range, they don't know who any of these blues people are. When you say you play the blues, they're like, what, Southern soul? So this is a two-part question. How does it feel when you speak to Black people and they're not aware, Black people, our people, and they're not aware of our traditional expression? And what measures do you take to try to introduce them to this?
The measure I take, because one thing I've learned is you can never force anything on anybody.
Right.
You can't make them do something they don't want to do. So I don't do the whole thing where you can be with a friend and say, oh yeah, what you listening to? I'm listening to this new Drake song. Oh, well, you should listen to it. That's not what I do. Because of course, 9 times out of 10, they're going to say, I don't want to listen to that song, or they forget about it.
Right.
What I do is I'll be in my car and I have my Bluetooth with my phone hooked up and have my playlist on shuffle. So they will hear all the different musics and all the different blues songs. And I'll just be jamming. And they, who is this? Oh, this Buddy Guy. Oh, where he from? Oh, he from Louisiana. Oh, okay, that's nice. I like that bass line. Yeah, there's such and such on bass. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, man, he recorded out of chest. And I feel like if you just have that kind of almost forcing, but not really forcing, just that natural, they catch on to it. Because I noticed with my peers in my age range, they really like to specify on bass. So like one day I was playing Albert King's Cold Feet. And that bass line was sampled by a rapper. I can't remember who.
Probably Big Daddy Kane, maybe.
I believe it was Big Daddy Kane. And he said, man, this Big Daddy Kane beat. I said, no, that's Albert King's beat. He said, no, it's Big Daddy Kane. I said, check it. So he looked around. I think the song came out in like 68 or 69, something like that. And he was like, man, I didn't know, that they were stealing beats from there. I was like, yeah, about 90 to 95% of rap music, rap beats come from, quote unquote, the good music, because I'm an old soul. So, I mean, it's like, yeah, but that's how I get them hip to it, is just, naturally just playing it because it's a part of me and it's just who I am. And 9 times out of 10, if you're around me, that's what you don't hear.
Right.
Another way is if we're chilling at my place and I have my guitar with me, I'll just be, feeling with it because I have nothing else to do. And oh man, I like the way you play. And I say, well, a lot of people say I play like BB. And then I show them a clip of B&A. Oh man, he getting it. I like him. A cousin of mine doesn't listen to blues at all. Everything in his phone is like that rough trap music and all that. He has one blues song on his phone because of me. And there's Ain't No Love in the Heart of the City by Bobby Bland.
Oh, yeah. That made a resurgence too, though, Well, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. He jams that. Oh, and he also jams I Wouldn't Treat a Dog the Way You Treated Me. And he just be feeling it. He be like, hey, cuz, look what I'm listening to. I'm just like, go ahead, do your thing, So, and I even get my close immediate cousins and, brothers and sisters hip to it. And they're just like, yeah, I can listen to this. I like it. So it makes me feel good. I know that if I can do it, whether I'm playing the music myself or playing it on the radio or whatever, we can get our young people into it.
So coming out of Louisiana, is there a lot of blues in your neck of the woods? I know for me, it's been a while since I've been down that way. But when we go to New Orleans and Harvey and Belrose, there's a lot of blues being played, a lot of Black spiritual. Now, that just could be what my people's playing. But do you find blues prevalent? Is it a generational thing?
I feel it is a generational thing. It's not very, I'll be honest with you. I played at a club back in 2019 after I came from Mississippi, here in Bossier City, Shreveport. And these were kind of older cats. They were all, it was a mixed age group, 40s, 50s, 60s. Yeah, 40s, 50s, and 60s. And the kicker to me was this. They asked if we could play Never Make a Move Too Soon.
Mm.
I said, oh, yeah. I said, let's do it in F. And the bass player, who was maybe 50, 60 years old, had never heard the song before.
Wow.
And he said, how does the bass go? So I did it to him in his ear, and he said, okay, I can do that. And he was doing it, but he was doing it his own way. But he had it in the pocket, I won't lie. And the young drummer, after that song, which did pretty well, we did a slow blues. The young drummer didn't know how to play slow blues. Mm. So it wasn't difficult because, they caught on quick. But I could tell that with blues not being really popular in Louisiana like that, except for when you go to, like you said, Harvey, New Orleans, up north, when somebody say blues, like I said, it's regarded to Southern soul. It's a generational thing. I feel like it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't have to be forced. Just sit down every once in a while. And I tell my peers this: if your grandparents are alive, talk to them. And they'll be like, why? Talk to them. Well, me and my grandmother, we do talk. We laugh and stuff. No, talk to them. Ask them things like, hey, grandma, who was your favorite artist, back when you were young? And you're going to hear, baby, we had Al Hibbler, Cab Calloway,
Louis Jordan.
Louis Jordan, you're going to hear that. And I feel like if it was more of that, we would have more blues lovers. We would have more classic soul singers. We would have more classic R&B singers, because some present day artists bring it out a little bit.
Right.
Alicia Keys may bring it out. John Legend may bring it out. Even Usher may bring out a tone. Yeah, Gary Clark, especially Gary Clark, because I'm not going to doubt it. With Gary doing, I can't remember, I think the movie he did was called Honey Dripper, I believe.
Yeah, I believe so.
Where he plays a blues. And I watched it actually last year. And I said, wow. And nobody kind of really knew who Gary Clark was then. And now look at him now, I think he took on 2 or 3 Grammys, off This Land.
Right, but that was blues.
Yeah, but it, some would consider it not blues. But to me, I still credit it as.
Just to be clear, I didn't mean to cut you off, but just to be clear, just because, at least for me, it doesn't classify as blues, doesn't mean it wasn't tight. He's a dope musician. Yeah. So I just had to make that disclaimer because I wasn't.
Oh no.
But there is a blues.
It's not considered blues, but I tell people all the time that, because they even would do Fish the same way. Oh, he's too rock. He's just too rock. Mm. Another thing is this. I play very similar to B. I get backlash. Fish told me himself he gets backlash. But my thing is this, and I'm just going to have to throw it out there. When Stevie Ray Vaughan was stealing Albert King licks, nobody said a word.
Okay, now.
Now, some people may get upset, but it's true. Nobody said a word. And he was considered, at the height of his career, or the developing height of his career before he passed in that helicopter accident, he was considered at the time one of the best blues players, or the best at the time. I feel like this. Yes, there's always going to be a hater. There's always going to be a down talker. There's always. Even when you wake up in the morning, somebody's going to say, man, I wish you didn't wake up. But it's the fact that it's a double standard.
Right.
So it's okay for him to be loud and stealing licks, but it's not okay for me to be loud and stealing licks. Oh, I know what the problem is. You don't want to say it, but I know what the problem is.
Right.
I know what the problem is.
Right.
I know what the problem is. So, like I said, it's not me saying white players are not good. Hispanics that play the blues are not good. My own people who play, no, it's not saying that. It's just give credit where credit is due.
No, you're 100% right. I mean, there's black folk that can't play the blues. You can't, just because you're black is not a default. You're a bluesman,
exactly.
A blueswoman.
Yeah.
You know.
But I hear my Caucasian associates always say, "Oh well, black people they always are on beat on rhythm." That's a lie because I've seen a lot of offbeat black people. So, and I've seen a lot of on-beat white people. So you can't really say that. It's just it's like I said, it's a double standard in the whole, popularity thing. Like I said, if Stevie can do it, what's the problem with us doing it?
Well, but you raise a very legitimate question, and it goes so deep because now that I cannot remember if it was Cicero Brown or Eddie the Chief, one of these older legends, one of the elders I had the honor and privilege to interview. I could be way off. It could have been someone else that I'm forgetting, but someone in that age group was explaining to me what he witnessed throughout the years. And he was like, when he was coming up, everybody knew black folks slaying guitars. And everybody wanted to play, including white people or whoever they were, wanted to play like these great black guitarists. As they were able to, and when I say they, those who promote, those who book shows and things of this nature, they was able to switch the playing field. It got to a point where, when they were having these festivals and white kids were going with their parents, seeing these older black men on stage getting busy, they was like, I didn't know black people played the guitar. Yeah. And he said the next phase of that was when he started noticing that black guitarists coming up, right? And I believe this was after the 80s, maybe the late 80s through the 90s. He started noticing these black guitarists imitating white guitarists who were imitating black guitarists, but they didn't know. So, it's like this real crazy cycle. You know what I mean? And I think it's very important for us to be seen.
I really do. Yeah, I agree with that.
So now, are you working on an album currently? What's going on with you musically?
Honestly, I've never recorded a day in my life so far. But I will say this, that there are some plans. Of course, I can't give too much, but there are some plans, hopefully within this year, depending on how it goes, that some material may be out. I will say this also with music. I've written on a lyric basis roughly 300 plus songs. I've been writing songs since I was a sophomore in high school. And I mean, it's about 2 or 3 notebooks just full of tunes. And now that I have technology in my hand and I'm not at a notebook all day, I have a app called Rhymer's Block where you can write, poetry or your songs in there, and it helps you out a little bit. So it's probably 20 or 30 songs in that. So I feel when the time comes, I'll be prepared because I have enough material for maybe 2 or 3 albums. But yeah, music, I've just been at home just playing on some stuff. I've had a lot of teachers. One of my biggest teachers is John Tavius Willis. And he's in Georgia, I'm in Louisiana. And you probably think to yourself, well, how do you learn things? We get on the phone, on speaker, and he'll say, okay, I'm gonna teach you this chord. This is your such and such chord. You're gonna put that finger there, that finger here, and that finger there. And you get in, and he say, okay, now play it.
Yeah. I've had those conversations with him too.
Yeah, he'll, you know, and I always give, like I said, I give credit where credit is due. He has been a big help. J-Hop, which I'm pretty sure you've been
I'm familiar
associated
with
with J-Hop. J-Hop he's taught me a lot. Stephen Hull has taught me a lot. Sean McDonough has taught me a lot. Dylan Tribble. I just like how we all pick off each other because it makes me think of how grandmothers and grandfathers used to go to their gardens and pick the spices and pick the vegetables and, you know, say, hey, I'm going to make a nice gumbo tonight. We all a gumbo of not only the past bluesmen who passed on, but we're also a gumbo of ourselves and what we are going to be.
Right.
And musically, it is overwhelming. When I was in Mississippi, the spirit was so high, as they say. The night I had to leave, I cried. It wasn't, I'm crying because I need attention. These were real, like, I'm going to miss y'all. I don't want this to stop, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Because on a music level, with these guys, it's magical. It's more than, I won't lie, it's a more than life itself thing. Annette Hollowell, who's with the Foxfire Ranch, she said, your ancestors are here. That's why you're doing so well. You know, and to me, that's heavy.
Heavy.
That is real heavy. So, but musically, I've been just tweaking with a new amp, which I can't say what it is because they just told me to keep it quiet. But I've been tweaking.
Sometimes you got to keep it quiet, man.
Yeah, you got to keep it quiet because I won't lie. I do with me playing Light B. I get maybe 4 or 5 misters a week saying which baritone switch to use, which strings to use, what amp to use, what picks, and, you know, what guitar. And I've always told people, just, you know, use what you're comfortable with. I can't, you know, because what's comfortable for me might not be comfortable for you.
Correct.
When learning B style, it wasn't easy because a lot of people don't know this, but, and I guess it's because I do it well to them, but with my influence on guitar, it wasn't B at first. It was actually John Lee Hooker is who I wanted to play like.
I could see that, yeah.
And because he always did the 2-finger, you know, on the neck and everything. I was just like, how is he on? You know, he's doing so much for so little.
Yeah.
So
he leaned on that. He leaned on it. Just one.
I even asked John Tavis, I said, hey, what key, you know, what tuning was John Lee Hooker using? He was like, oh, standard E. I was like, you sure? He was like, yeah. And, you know, he's like a blues philosopher. He's really, this man is walking blues book. He really is.
He's
now, if he doesn't
the musical encyclopedia. He could definitely break down. Yeah, definitely.
He can break it down, and that's another thing I love about him. But I get a lot of people, you know, going, you know, how do you, and where did you, you know, John Lee Hooker was the first. And I told myself, I said, nope, too many people can play John Lee Hooker. I've seen it. I said, nope. I said, okay, I like Chuck Berry. But then I said, Back to the Future too. Nope, can't do it. Everybody can play Johnny B. Good now and all that. So I said, who is one musician that people kind of have a hard time, getting their tone, just milking them.
Right. Definitely.
Stevie milked Albert King. Okay. The Rolling Stones milked a lot of, to me, mostly Chuck Berry, mostly Little Richard, because they were influenced by a mixture of early black rock and rollers.
As well as Howlin' and Muddy.
Yeah, Howlin' and Muddy, especially the Animals, the Yardbirds.
Right.
But I said, okay, I have to think of somebody. And I said, go back to your roots. How did you learn to talk? B.B. King. He plays guitar. So I can't make this up. This is actually what I did. Fall of 2013, my mother got me a blue guitar, which I still have today, and it still works and everything. And I looked at every video, not lessons, every concert that I could find of BB, and I watched his hands. And I'm not like forcing myself to, hey, you better pay attention. Just naturally, okay, he's doing this, he's doing that. But see, my main problem was I was out of tune. I didn't know how to tune the guitar, so I was horrible. So I would be playing, and people would go, you would sound good if you had lessons. And I said, no, I don't want to take lessons because I want to be self-taught. I want to teach myself. That's where I can just develop as I go on. Not saying you can't do that with lessons, but I feel like sometimes for certain people, when it comes to lessons, a lot of it is not you.
Right.
A lot of it is very technical based. It's, if I work this chord here and this chord there and this chord this, you still kind of feel empty. You're not full because you still want to put something there that's not there. And that's why I took on B, because he would do so little and get so much and be full.
Yes.
So that's why he's my man. I mean, I have other guitarists and singers as influences, but that's what, on a playing basis, my foundation is B, because he just had this approach to where it was like, he doesn't have to be too loud, or he doesn't have to play a million licks to get his point across. And even when you listen to stuff from the 50s to the 70s, you see the evolution of his playing. It's still the same. In the 50s, he was kind of, he was all over. But when he get into the 60s and he's just hitting these notes here and they're so sweet, you just like, how? It's the same way with Albert. You're just like, how?
They're at that age, bro. That's that age. You know what I mean? That's that maturity. There's a movie, Colors. Did you see the movie Colors?
Yes, saw the movie Colors, yes.
Do you remember what Robert Duvall, I believe his name was, said to Sean Penn? He said, there was the bull and his son, the calf. And the calf said, Daddy, let's run down there and I'm going to keep it clean, have sex with one of those cows. And the father said, the bull said, no, son, let's walk down there and do it with them all. That's that B.B. King, that Albert King, I done did all this. Now I'm just going to lay on this because I can. You know what I'm saying?
And that's the thing. That's the beauty of it, because it wasn't, they were young, that's what. No, it was that learning of time. You don't have to play a million notes in this, 10 or 30 second box. You don't have to. You can, if that's what you want to do, by all means, but you don't have to. It's not written in a law that says, hey, if you're going to do music, you better play a lot of notes in 30 seconds. And I mean, it doesn't say that.
No.
And I'm not down on those who do it, but it's just beautiful to me.
Well, It definitely is a skill set to be able to play a billion notes within a small phrase. But, and please forgive me, that's not the blues, that's shredding. And that's what kind of happened to the blues. That's why it's so easy for someone to do rock and say they're doing the blues. Because there's kind of this convoluted idea that and it wasn't. I mean, for me, my school of thought is Chuck Berry is the blues. I say that culturally, heritage-wise. Musically, he'll tell you he wasn't playing no blues. He was the rock. He was one of the fathers of rock and roll. Yeah. So you see, so him playing at that speed, he wasn't playing the blues. Jimi Hendrix, who has we've heard him play the blues. I mean, he played behind Buddy Guy, for Christ's sake. Yeah. But his popular music, he'll tell you wasn't the blues. But he's a bluesman. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense because there are several players out there, even still today, who will say, I'm not a bluesman. I'm a musician.
Right.
You know, and I respect it. You know, you label yourself what you want to. And I guess because sometimes it is difficult to just be set in one category. But see, I go back to B because I have watched a lot of his interviews, and he would always say, oh, I'm proud to be a bluesman. But he's out here taking a blues voice, a blues sound, with maybe rock sounding music in the background, a pop sounding music in the back. But his voice and his playing, he's saying, oh, yeah, that's blues because I'm the leader. I'm playing blues licks. So even though this music back here might be a little hard and upbeat, these lyrics are still blues. You know?
That's right.
So I feel like if we go back, if artists went on that type of level where it's, oh, these are blues licks, these are blues lyrics, but the music is a little different, people will go, they're a musician, but they're also a blues musician.
Right.
I feel like it's okay. Like I said, it's okay to put yourself in a little category if you want to. But like I said, the ones who just say I'm a musician, you gotta look at it though. If you're a musician and you play, and let's say in your concert you play classical piano, then the second set you do rock and roll, and the third set you finish with jazz. The audience is going to go, oh yeah, he's a jazz musician.
Right.
Oh yeah, he's a rock guitarist. Oh yeah, he's a classical piano player. But the musician may say, but I'm just a musician.
Right. Right.
But see, it's just to me, what really matters is where do you want to go? What is your journey? What is your point? My point is, as I told the fellas, as I've told my family, my point is doing my part in keeping blues music alive. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to bust out with the most, Delta blues song in history, or the most, funk blues song here. No, that means that I'm going to do my best to put forth and working with other genres and mixing in with blues, but keeping it blues.
Right.
Which I feel is why B was labeled as a king of the blues guitar, why Albert, Freddie, because they both, the trio, the three of them, really mixed funk with blues, gospel with blues, rock with blues, pop with blues.
Soul
you can't tell
blues.
me that they did. Yeah, soul blues. You can't tell me they did. I mean, you just can't. B has a whole album called Mr. Blues where he does a Tony Bennett song.
Right.
You see what I mean? So it's like, it's how you deliver it. It's how you deliver it.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and I mean, I'm sure we all speak about this off air when we're amongst the brothers about what actually qualifies as blues, right? And what can be inserted that won't remove blues. But you mentioned keeping blues alive. I want to talk about that phrase because coming from you, coming from Marquise, Quan, we can go down the list of everybody's name. Even some of us down here on the ground level that many people don't know about. That phrase doesn't trigger anything because I understand when it's coming from the children of the blues people. But that phrase, when it's applied by other people, somewhat triggers something in me because it's almost like this idea of Columbus finding a place that was already inhabited. So when I hear people saying white organizations or what have you saying they're keeping the blues alive, do you feel that omits us as Black bluesmen and women?
It does it puts a lot, to me, it puts a lot of, it kind of puts a boundary on us. It kind of puts a, wait right there, pal, for some reason. And I feel like just like you were speaking earlier about the older blues and speaking of young white fellas saying elderly bluesmen, you know, in the so-called blues rediscovery, the term keeping the blues alive is not saying the blues is dying. I'll tell you that right now, because the blues is far from dying. Go back again to my statement on society. It's society that's trying to wipe it out. It's society that's trying to change it. So it does, like you stated, when these, you know, white organizations say, oh, we're keeping the blues alive. But are you though? Is your reason for it to just get your money and be happy? Or do you actually care about the term and about the movement that we consider today as Black Lives Matter? Because if that's the case, then Black blues should matter too. Now, if I said I'm keeping Black blues alive, people will lose their minds.
That is true.
Well, the blues is just a genre of music. It's not about race. Okay, if it's not about race, why are you so mad? You know, Dick Gregory used to say these are the games they play.
Yes, sir.
You coin these terms sometimes to, I think my generation called it to get clout. You know, you want to be seen.
Right. I think
you
the new term right now. I think the new term right now is capping. I think I heard a young folk say that.
Yeah.
That's how my pay grade. I'm way too old.
But your actions, you know, speaking louder than words. You know, we keeping the blues alive. How? Is your money going into Muddy Waters' home in Chicago that for a long time was stated to be torn down? Is it? Is the juke joints in Mississippi that are low on cash, especially during the pandemic, is your organization raising that money for that? Are you going to raise that money to finally get a tombstone for some of these bluesmen who don't have tombstones? They're buried on the backside of a plantation that they used to live on. You know,
Indeed.
That have no next to kin. Are you putting this money into any real heritage and cultural research that could really benefit not only just the blues community, but the Black blues community? Anybody,
you know something,
can sing.
I'm sorry, because you said something very specific, and I want to kind of flip that over, because there's also those non-Black musicians or non-Black enthusiast fans and the like, that, well, white ones, but there's other, there's other ethnicities and races that appreciate what we do, right? Mm-hmm. And honor and respects where it comes from and who it belongs to. What can we do to kind of bridge the gap in regards of showing a stance, a multicultural stance, that we all in unison, Black, white, and whatever else you are, understand and respect the culture and traditional expression, and that none of us collectively are bashing anyone. We're trying to give an understanding, right?
Yeah. I feel like if some of the older heads would reach out, because as I stated, the world is getting selfish, and even the old heads are getting selfish. Mm. They'll say, oh yeah, that brother can play. I'm going to help him get to where he needs to be. And they don't do it. Mm. Now, I'm not saying that they don't have a life and that they should put their life on hold to solely focus on that musician or that young man or that young woman. But I feel like if there was more communication and connection with our elders, with our youngsters, with our Blacks, with our whites, with our Hispanics, and so forth, that understanding just needs to be there. When we say keeping the blues alive, we saying that we have to keep this art that we created not only in the rightful hands, but we also have to keep it back on that level in the 60s that they admired so much. We have to keep it on that level that it was then, when the songs were going, hey, we rediscovered Howlin' Wolf. Right. We rediscovered John Lee Hooker. We have to put it back on that type of level, where it is a lot of us, but also other ethnicities up there with us, and they can proudly say, I play the blues because of these people's sacrifices, of these people's living, of just who they are, period. Santana, I give a lot of credit to Santana because with him being of a Hispanic background, he always praises the blues. He always say who his idol was, when it came to blues. And I applaud him for that because many don't. Right. Many just say, oh, well, I heard my dad playing a T-Bone Walker record, so yeah. And that's it. But Santana, he thinks you can see it, that he's like, oh, first time I saw Big, I heard him, and that's when I said I want to do. To me, that's a big inspiration. Yes. Because this person didn't even have to directly talk to you and say, hey, be a part of this. Right. Something in your heart. It has to be an understanding on a mental and emotional level, keeping the blues alive. I know the blues. Sir, if you were fed with a silver spoon, the only blues you got is if you got some credit card fraud going on. That's just about it. Or your spoons ain't real silver. Right. If you ain't had a moment where you were a kid and your mom struggled to pay the light bill or the rent, or they cut the lights off anyway, say, I got to rent out a hotel for a few days because her insulin needs to stay cold. That's the blues. But see, nobody wants to talk about the realness of the blues. They just want to talk about the notes, right, the beat, the bass. That's all they want to talk about. You don't know what these people went through to sing and play their hearts out. You don't know. You'll never know because it's just not a part of you. It's just not. You can hit me with every sob story that you can. Oh, well, my sister, when she was sick with cancer, My grandmother had cancer.
Right.
My uncle had cancer. My dad was a diabetic. That to me, that's not a good enough story to make me say, "Oh yeah, you really been through it."
Right.
Because
right.
I have to say, no race in this world, when it comes to the United States of America, has suffered the way Black people have.
No.
400 years.
More than that, actually, but yeah.
More than that, actually. More than we still going through systematic racism. We still going through it. So don't tell me you know because you don't. And the blues is not sad because when we sing and we play, we happy as ever. And it may be a sad song. It may be, but we are happy as ever because it's something inside of us that's being spilled out that we've been holding to for so long. But the problem is, though, even though we let out a little bit here and there, we still ain't let it all out because of that behind us. It's still there.
Right.
That systematic racism, that gentrification, is over us like a shadow. It's just there.
So that means
you can't get rid of your own shadow. You just can't.
Right. So the blues
even in your coffin, you can't get rid of your shadow because somebody shine a light on your dead body in the coffin. You see your shadow on the coffin. you can't.
That's a blues lyric right there. You need to write that down quick.
I mean,
even in your casket, they shine a light on you. Your shadow there.
Yes, your shadow is there. So that's why we complain. That's why we march. That's why we play this music. Because we're not saying you can't play it. We're not saying that. We're saying give credit where it's due. We're saying if you sitting here making millions and trillions of dollars off something that we created, hey, that family or that musician is owed something because you recorded that song.
Absolutely. You
recorded that song. When they wrote, my woman just left me, I feel so bad. That was a part of them. And it's written by them. I'm sorry. Even if they have no next of kin, I feel like some funds need to go to something. Even if they last material items are in a museum, donate to that museum. That's how you can keep it alive.
Right.
Because if the Blues Museum in Clarksville is to go down today, who gonna save it?
Great question. Who
gonna save it? Do you think? And this is no disrespect to them. It's just a common sense thing. Do you really think Jimmy Vaughn or Clapton are gonna hold a big concert and say, "Hey, you guys, we raised $50 million to keep the deaths"? No.
I definitely don't think Eric Clapton would do that. But at the same token, we got to remember people like Janis Joplin, who made sure Big Mama Thornton got her just dues. But I do not. I will. I'm sorry, but because I try to walk in the spirit, I work to be a forgiving man. So I say this carefully, but there's no way in hell I believe that Eric Clapton would do anything for anything black other than appropriate and take $1. But that's neither here nor there. No.
I mean, it's just saying the fact that we know the ones who so-called praise this music are not going to. Because to them, when they read it, Blues Museum to be demolished March 31st or whatever, they're going to go, oh man, that's horrible. Well, it was nice, seeing that place when I did. Hope they can, hope they find a way to do it. Hope a fundraiser starts or something.
Right.
And it shouldn't be that way. If you love it so much, if you so-called feel it, then there shouldn't be a problem with you going, hey, let me talk to my accountant, see how much we pulled in and what we can donate without hurting my personal bills, whatever, and assisting this because we can't let this die. Because it's a part of us.
Well, you know something, bro? I have to say on that, I agree with you, but I also have to say that we as our people need to take accountability and start preserving our stuff, because that's like the last piece of chicken sitting there. It's been sitting there for 2 hours. Somebody gonna grab it. We can't come back and be like, yo, man, you just grabbed that last piece of chicken. How dare you? You know what I'm saying? Somebody, we have to we have to work to save the institutions and the expressions of our people. That's our job. Now, I get what you're saying. I agree. Y'all made a lot of money off us. It's only right that you reciprocate and hold us down, but we have to be more diligent and honor our stuff much better, and each other for that matter, because I mean,
you're right.
If we don't honor each other, it's going to be really hard for us to honor our traditions, right?
You're right. And I'm glad that you say that, because I actually was talking to John Tavius one night, and I said, I see a lot of my peers, and these are people I grew up with, who will post something about, say, for example, a person's weight. I said, I think it's funny that I see, a woman post a picture of a woman saying, girl, working. You're big and you're beautiful. Do your thing. But then when they see a big guy, oh, he too fat. I can't talk to him. And that's amongst our people. I'm not saying it doesn't happen with whites, but I see this a lot with our culture, because we've been brainwashed via television, social media, excited that this is a certain look. This is okay. This is not okay.
Right.
So when you state that about us doing our own part, oh yeah. It's like I tell people all the time when it comes to Black Lives Matter movement, when it comes to civil rights, period, they're not going to take us serious until we take us serious.
Correct.
That's the only way. Because what we did with George Floyd, I'm pretty sure a lot of them who are for being racist and racism said, oh, they did this 50 years ago. Let them march.
Right.
Oh, they riding? They did this 50 years ago. Let them ride. Same thing happened with Rodney King. Let them ride. Let them fight. It happened. Let them march. We don't care. They did it. They'll be, give it a month or two. They'll be quiet. You see what I mean now? It's like
I see.
It's like we kind of. It's like they kind of already know the plan.
Right.
When we got to come at it differently. Where before we go march, we huddle up in our own secret society and we go, hey, you love me? Hell yeah, I love you. I don't even know you, but I love you. That's what I'm talking about. So when we go out there and somebody hit me in the head with a nightstick, what you gonna do? I'm gonna push them off you. That's what I want. Teamwork. That's what we need. Teamwork amongst ourselves. We have been just trained. It's been just repeated and repeated. So much of this is what's okay, this is what's not so okay. It's okay to have the unpopular opinion because I can respect your unpopular opinion. What I can't respect, though, is if your sole goal is to disrespect me.
Right.
So if you being nitpicky about this is okay and this not okay, you might as well just leave it alone because you're not trying to see this at this level. You seeing it at this level.
Correct.
I'm better than you because I look like this. You pretty much doing the same thing that they are doing to us.
Correct.
But you too blind to see it. What is wrong with me? Nothing. What's wrong with you? Nothing. Then why you got a problem with me? I don't know. Oh, I know why. Because of the system. What's being taught to you. But if we teach each other, hey, love your fellow man. Love your fellow woman. Y'all always want to post Bible scriptures and stuff, but you only follow a certain part of the Bible. Wink, wink. Yeah, nobody's perfect. He gave us free will. That's what it say. Well, my thing is this. If you actually want change, if you actually want some type of advancement, you got to have some type of teamwork. You got to throw away your little crap to the side and say, you know what, even though he or this is that, we can work something out.
No,
which a great example of that to me is Regina King's new film, One Night in Miami.
I haven't seen it yet. I need to see it, though.
You have a boxer, football player, Muslim, talented African-American singer. All of these men, great individuals in the same room. And when I tell you, it really relates to today, especially on that topic of you're this, you're that, you're this, you're that, but we can still make a way.
Yes, sir.
It sends chills through your spine because you're like, they had arguments. They had disagreements, but at the end of the day, they are now and still are today some of the world's greatest entertainers, greatest leaders, greatest role models, greatest influence musically. You can't sit here and say Sam Cooke was a bad singer. You can, but it's gonna be a million people that's gonna tell you you're wrong.
Or crazy.
He's a great singer. He did A Change Is Gonna Come. That's the only song we know. He's a great singer. But I mean, it's a powerful. I say you watch it, but it's a prime example of that. You can be different and have different views, but still have a positive outcome.
I agree, man.
Just try. It works with the same thing in the blues. I never pull that crap. Oh, well, Fish sounds rocky, so that's rock. No, I said, well, it's about time somebody got the spotlight.
Right.
Then when I came across John Tavius and saw him get nominated along with Fish, I said 2 words: Black Power.
Yeah,
because that means we being seen now. The newcomers are being seen now. Buddy has had his light. BB has had his light. Now us, when I saw those 2 faces, when I saw Bobby get finally, wink, wink, get his nomination, actually won, I was just like, it is about time.
Yeah.
Because give credit where it's due.
Especially in the blues category. How are you going to have a blues category and there's no blues people nominated?
Thank you. How? And I tell you how. The society don't want to. They're not putting in the effort to go, let's see if we can find some young blues players. Okay. Let's see. We got Stephen Hull here. This guy's out of Wisconsin. Write his name down. You don't have that going on. You just have, hey, there's this person with 1,500 million views on YouTube and Facebook. We should sign him. Prime example, the little boy in Walmart yodeling. I mean, don't get me wrong. It was cute. It was cute.
Right.
I like a little country. That's cute. But then he actually gets signed to a label. And I'm just like, oh, okay, maybe I should go in the middle of Target and start yodeling. Can I get signed now? No.
Right.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I'll try something that's more blackish. I'll rap. Like, no.
Right.
You see what I mean? Like no, it has to be. I would just wish there was this team that they could say, hey, I know some cats, and I'm telling you, they got it, and we can do it. And it's not saying as a money thing. It's saying is these people are genuinely and authentically talented. They're all self-taught.
Yeah.
That's what makes them so raw. That's what makes the crowd love them. They put on these great shows, and how do people not know them? That's the effect that we need. How do you not know this person? Have you been living in a hole? That's what we need.
Right.
And yes, it's going to take ourselves. It's just going to take a lot of understanding and communication. And my mom always says, one of the things that she hated about me so much is that I'm persistent. When I go for something, I go for it.
Well, that's the only way to get it. That's the only way to get it,
That's
bro.
the only way.
No, man.
And I don't know if it's the man in me or what, but I'm just persistent as hell. Somebody tell me no, I say, okay, but I'm gonna get it.
Right. I mean, that's the only way to get it.
But I just told you, I didn't say I was gonna get it from you. I said I'm gonna get it.
Right. And that's really the only way. You know, man, bro, it's been great building with you. We got to do this again. But before we end the show, please tell everyone where they can find you. Like social media and everything.
On Instagram, it is DK Harrell. You actually just type in my name, DK Harrell. It's DK Harrell. And that profile will be a picture of me holding my guitar. Leave pictures in black and white. On Facebook, of course, D.K.Harrell, spelled the same way. Not on Twitter, really.